The unexpected arrival. The tranquil silence of the night was shattered by the sudden appearance of a glowing orb in the sky. It wasn't a typical shooting star or any celestial phenomenon the people of Earth had ever seen. The orb moved with purpose, descending slowly until it hovered just above the ground in a remote forest clearing. Its light illuminated the surrounding trees, casting eerie shadows that danced in the darkness. Nearby, a lone hiker named Sam was returning to his campsite after a long day of exploring. He had always been drawn to the wilderness, finding solace in the quiet and the beauty of nature. But tonight, something felt different. There was an electric charge in the air, and the hairs on the back of his neck stood on end. As he approached the clearing, he saw the orb and froze in his tracks. For a moment, Sam's mind struggled to comprehend what he was seeing. The orb was unlike anything he had ever encountered. It pulsed with a soft, otherworldly glow, shifting colors from blue to green to violet. He knew that he should be afraid, that this was something beyond human understanding, but curiosity got the better of him. Slowly, he stepped closer, his eyes wide with wonder. As Sam approached, the orb began to change. It elongated, transforming into a sleek, metallic object that resembled a ship. The surface of the craft was smooth, reflecting the surrounding forest like a mirror. There were no visible seams or openings, no sign of propulsion or technology. It was as if the ship had materialized out of thin air. Just as Sam reached out to touch the ship, a door appeared on its side, sliding open with a quiet hiss. A ramp extended to the ground, and from the darkness within, a figure emerged. The being was tall and slender, with skin that shimmered in the light of the orb. Its eyes were large and almond-shaped, glowing with an inner light. It wore a flowing robe that seemed to be made of the same material as the ship, blending seamlessly with its surroundings. Sam took a step back, his heart pounding in his chest. The alien tilted its head, observing him with a curious expression. Then, to Sam's surprise, it spoke. The voice was soft and melodic, resonating in his mind rather than his ears. "Do not be afraid, human. I mean you no harm." Sam's breath caught in his throat. He had always imagined what it would be like to encounter extraterrestrial life, but he never expected it to be like this. The alien's presence was calming, almost soothing, despite the strangeness of the situation. "Who are you?" Sam finally managed to ask, his voice trembling. "I am called Aria," the alien replied. "I come from a distant world, far beyond the reaches of your understanding. My people have watched your planet for many cycles, and now we seek your help." Sam blinked in confusion. "My help? What could I possibly do?" Aria stepped closer, her eyes locked onto his. "Your species possesses qualities that are unique in the galaxy. Ingenuity, resilience, determination. We have seen how you adapt, how you overcome obstacles that would break others. My people are facing a great crisis, one that threatens our very existence. We believe that humans may hold the key to our survival." Sam's mind was reeling. It was too much to take in all at once. He had gone from a quiet night in the forest to being asked to help save an alien race. It sounded like something out of a science fiction novel, yet here he was, standing before an extraterrestrial being in the middle of the woods. "I don't understand," Sam said, shaking his head. "Why me? I'm just an ordinary person." Aria smiled, a small, gentle curve of her lips. "There is no such thing as an ordinary person, Sam. Every individual has the potential to make a difference. You were chosen because of your heart, your spirit. You have a strength within you that you may not even realize." Sam took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. The idea of leaving Earth, of embarking on a journey to an unknown world, was terrifying. But there was also a thrill to it, a chance to do something extraordinary. He had always felt like there was more to life than what he had experienced so far, and now it seemed that his destiny was calling. "What do I have to do?" he asked, his voice firm with resolve. Aria extended her hand, her eyes glowing brighter. "Come with me, and I will show you." Without hesitation, Sam reached out and took her hand. The moment their hands touched, a wave of warmth and energy surged through him, filling him with a sense of purpose and clarity. The world around them began to blur, and before Sam could comprehend what was happening, they were enveloped in a bright light. When the light faded, Sam found himself standing on a vast open plain. The sky above was a deep indigo, dotted with unfamiliar stars. The air was crisp and cool, carrying the scent of alien flora. In the distance, he could see towering structures that seemed to defy the laws of physics, their forms fluid and ever-changing. "This is my home," Arya said softly, releasing his hand. "Welcome to Telora." Sam gazed in awe at the alien landscape. It was beautiful, yet hauntingly strange. He could feel the weight of the task ahead of him, the responsibility that had been placed on his shoulders. But alongside that weight was a sense of excitement, of being part of something far greater than himself. "What is this crisis your people are facing?" Sam asked, turning to Arya. Her expression grew somber, and she gestured toward the distant structures. "Our world is dying, Sam. The energy that sustains our planet is fading, and with it, our ability to survive. We have tried everything within our power to reverse the decay, but nothing has worked. That is why we have come to you. We believe that your unique perspective, your human creativity, may hold the solution we need." Sam nodded slowly, absorbing her words. He didn't fully understand the science or the technology involved, but he knew one thing for certain: he couldn't turn his back on this. If there was even a chance that he could help save an entire species, he had to try. "Where do we start?" he asked, determination burning in his eyes. Arya smiled again, a hint of hope returning to her gaze. "We start by unlocking the potential within you, Sam. Together, we will find a way to save Telora." And with that, they began their journey, stepping into the unknown with nothing but their courage and each other to guide them. This first part sets the stage for the adventure that lies ahead, introducing the protagonist Sam and the alien Arya, and establishing the crisis that will drive the narrative. The next parts will build on this foundation, delving deeper into the challenges they face and the bond that forms between them. The path to understanding. Sam stood on the alien plane, his mind still reeling from the events that had brought him here. The landscape around him was breathtakingly beautiful, yet it filled him with a sense of unease. The towering structures in the distance, with their shifting forms, were unlike anything he had ever seen. They seemed to be alive, constantly changing shape and color, as if they were responding to the energy of the planet itself. Arya, the alien who had brought him to this strange world, watched him with a calm expression. Her eyes, which glowed with an inner light, seemed to see right through him, as if she could sense the turmoil within his mind. "Are you all right, Sam?" she asked gently, her voice resonating in his thoughts. Sam took a deep breath and nodded, though he wasn't entirely sure he was all right. "It's just a lot to take in," he admitted. "One moment I'm hiking in the woods, and the next I'm on an alien planet. It doesn't feel real." Arya smiled softly. "I understand. Your world is very different from ours. It must be overwhelming to find yourself here, with no time to prepare." He appreciated her understanding, but there were so many questions swirling in his mind. "Why did you choose me?" he asked, his voice filled with genuine curiosity. "There must be people more qualified, more knowledgeable. Scientists, engineers, people who understand this kind of thing." Arya's expression grew thoughtful. "We did not choose you for your knowledge, Sam. We chose you for your heart, for your humanity. My people are facing a crisis that cannot be solved with technology alone. We need someone who can think beyond the boundaries of our understanding, someone who can see possibilities where we cannot. That is why we chose you." Sam was silent for a moment, trying to process her words. He had always considered himself an ordinary person, just another face in the crowd. The idea that he possessed something unique, something that could potentially save an entire world, was difficult to grasp. "What exactly is the problem?" he asked, his curiosity piqued. "You said your planet is dying. What's causing it?" Arya's eyes darkened, and she gestured for Sam to follow her. They began walking across the plain, the strange structures in the distance growing closer with each step. Our planet, Talora, is sustained by a core of pure energy, Arya explained as they walked. This energy flows through every living thing, connecting us to the world and to each other. For countless generations, it has provided us with everything we need: light, warmth, sustenance. But now the core is weakening. The energy is fading, and with it, our world is beginning to decay. Sam listened intently, his mind racing. Why is it fading? Can't you find a way to replenish it? We have tried, Arya said, her voice tinged with sadness. Our scientists and scholars have dedicated their lives to studying the core, searching for a way to restore its strength. But every attempt has failed. We do not fully understand the nature of the energy, nor do we know how to control it. That is why we turn to you, Sam. We believe that your species, with its unique creativity and resilience, may hold the key to our survival. Sam's brow furrowed as he tried to wrap his mind around the concept. But I don't have any special knowledge about energy or cores. I'm not a scientist. How can I help? Arya stopped and turned to face him, her eyes locking onto his. You do not need to be a scientist, Sam. You simply need to be yourself. Your perspective, your way of thinking, may lead us to a solution that we have not yet considered. Sometimes the answer lies not in knowledge, but in intuition and imagination. Sam felt a surge of responsibility settle in his chest. He wasn't sure if he could live up to the expectations being placed on him, but he knew he couldn't turn back now. He had to try. What do we do first? He asked, his resolve strengthening. Arya smiled, her expression filled with a quiet confidence. We begin by showing you the heart of our world, the core itself. Perhaps by understanding its nature, you will be able to see something that we have missed. They continued their journey across the plain, the alien structures looming ever larger as they approached. Sam noticed that the air grew warmer the closer they got, and there was a faint hum in the air, like the distant sound of a heartbeat. As they neared the base of one of the towering structures, Sam realized that it wasn't a building at all. It was a living entity, a massive tree-like organism with roots that extended deep into the ground and branches that reached high into the sky. The surface of the tree shimmered with a soft light, the colors shifting in a mesmerizing pattern. This is one of the great trees, Arya explained, placing a hand on the trunk. They are connected to the core, drawing energy from it and distributing it across the planet. They are the lifeblood of Talora. Sam reached out and touched the tree as well. The surface was warm and smooth, almost like skin. As he made contact, he felt a faint pulse beneath his fingertips, as if the tree were alive and aware of his presence. The core is located deep beneath the surface, Arya continued. It is surrounded by a network of these great trees, which serve as conduits for the energy. But as the core weakens, so too do the trees. If we do not find a solution soon, the entire ecosystem will collapse. Sam withdrew his hand, a sense of urgency settling in his gut. The weight of the task ahead was daunting, but he knew he couldn't let fear hold him back. There had to be a way to help, even if it wasn't immediately clear. How do we get to the core? He asked. Arya gestured toward a nearby opening in the ground, a large circular entrance that seemed to lead deep into the earth. We must descend into the heart of Talora. There, you will see the core for yourself. Perhaps in its presence, you will find the inspiration we need. Sam nodded, steeling himself for what lay ahead. He followed Arya as she led the way into the entrance, the light from the surface slowly fading as they descended into the depths of the planet. The tunnel was wide and smooth, illuminated by a faint, bioluminescent glow that emanated from the walls. The further they went, the more intense the glow became, until the entire tunnel was bathed in a soft, ethereal light. The hum that Sam had heard earlier grew louder, resonating through his entire body like a deep, rhythmic pulse. After what felt like an eternity of walking, they finally emerged into a vast cavern. The sight that greeted Sam took his breath away. In the center of the cavern, suspended in the air by tendrils of light, was the core. It was a massive, spherical object, radiating a powerful energy that seemed to vibrate through the very air. The surface of the core was constantly shifting, as if it were alive, pulsating with a rhythmic pattern that matched the hum Sam had felt. Arya stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the core with a mixture of reverence and concern. "This is the heart of Talora," she said softly. "It has sustained our world for eons, but now it is weakening. The energy it produces is diminishing, and with it, our hope." Sam approached the core, feeling the intense energy wash over him. It was both awe-inspiring and terrifying, a force of nature that was beyond his comprehension. He reached out a hand, hesitating for a moment before making contact. The moment his fingers brushed the surface of the core, a surge of energy shot through him. Images flashed before his eyes, memories, emotions, thoughts, all jumbled together in a chaotic stream. He saw visions of Talora in its prime, vibrant and full of life, and then he saw it fading, the energy waning as the core began to die. But amidst the chaos, Sam felt something else, an underlying current of possibility, a flicker of hope buried deep within the core. It was faint, but it was there, waiting to be discovered. He pulled his hand back, his heart racing. "I felt something," he said, turning to Arya. "There's still a chance. The core isn't completely gone. There's something left, something we can work with." Arya's eyes widened with hope. "What did you feel, Sam? What did you see?" Sam took a deep breath, trying to put the sensation into words. "It's hard to explain. It's like the core is reaching out, trying to connect with something. It's weak, but it hasn't given up. Maybe we can find a way to strengthen that connection, to reignite the energy." Arya's expression was thoughtful as she considered his words. A connection. Perhaps there is a way to bridge the gap, to restore the flow of energy. But we must tread carefully. The core is fragile, and any misstep could lead to disaster. Sam nodded, feeling the weight of the task ahead. But for the first time since he had arrived on Talora, he felt a glimmer of hope. There was a chance, however slim, that they could save this world. "Where do we start?" he asked, his voice steady. Arya looked at him, her eyes filled with determination. "We start by finding the source of that connection, the spark of hope that you felt. And then, together, we will find a way to reignite a heart of Talora." With that, they began their work, delving into the mysteries of the core and the energies that sustained the planet. Sam knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult, but he was ready to face whatever challenges lay in their path. For the fate of an entire world depended on their success, and he was determined to do whatever it took to save it. This part deepens the narrative, introducing the core of Talora and the challenge of reigniting its energy. The bond between Sam and Arya is strengthened as they begin to work together to uncover the mysteries of the planet. The story will continue to build on these elements, leading to further discoveries and challenges in the next part. The Silent Guardians. As Sam and Arya continued to delve into the mysteries of Talora's core, the atmosphere around them grew heavier. The cavern where the core resided seemed to pulse with an almost sentient awareness, as if the planet itself was watching their every move. Sam couldn't shake the feeling that they were being observed, not just by the core, but by something or someone else. "Arya," Sam began hesitantly, "do you think, are we alone down here?" Arya paused, turning her gaze towards the shadows that clung to the edges of the cavern. "We are not alone, Sam," she said softly. "There are others here. They are the Silent Guardians, ancient beings who have protected the core for millennia. They do not interfere with our work unless they perceive a threat." Sam's eyes widened as he scanned the darkness, trying to catch a glimpse of these so-called guardians. "What are they? Can they help us?" Arya's expression was unreadable as she considered his questions. The Guardians are the oldest beings on Talora. They were born from the core itself and have existed for as long as our planet has. They are not like us. They do not speak or think as we do. Their purpose is singular, to protect the core. They can be allies, but only if they understand that we are here to help. Do they understand that? Sam asked, a hint of unease creeping into his voice. They are aware of our presence, Arya replied, but whether they see us as friend or foe remains to be seen. Sam nodded, trying to push aside the unease gnawing at him. He focused on the task at hand, figuring out how to strengthen the connection he had felt within the core. They needed to act quickly before the planet's life force weakened further. As they worked, Sam became more attuned to the subtle rhythms of the core. He could feel its energy fluctuating, like a heart that was struggling to beat. He spent hours at a time in deep concentration, trying to align his thoughts with the pulse of the core, searching for any sign of that faint spark he had felt earlier. Arya, meanwhile, had been consulting with the elders of her people, who were also deeply concerned about the planet's deteriorating condition. They had shared ancient texts and knowledge that had been passed down through generations, hoping to uncover something that might help. One day, after hours of silent contemplation by the core, Sam suddenly felt a shift. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but there was a definite change in the energy flow. He opened his eyes and looked at Arya, who was watching him intently. I think I found something, he said quietly. It's like there's a pattern, a pulse that I can feel. It's weak, but it's there. If we can somehow amplify it, we might be able to stabilize the core. Arya's eyes lit up with hope. A pattern. That could be the key. If we can identify it, we might be able to synchronize it with the core's energy flow and strengthen it. Sam nodded. But how do we do that? We don't have any technology that can manipulate something this delicate. Arya thought for a moment, then her expression brightened. There is a place, deep within the planet, where the energy is most concentrated. It's called the Nexus. The silent guardians draw their power from there, and it's said to be the source of the core's energy. If we can reach the Nexus, we might be able to use its energy to amplify the pattern you found. Sam felt a surge of determination. Then that's where we need to go. How do we get there? Arya hesitated. The path to the Nexus is treacherous. It's deep within the planet's crust, in a place that even my people rarely venture. The Guardians protect it fiercely, and they may not allow us to pass. We have to try, Sam said firmly. If the Nexus is our best chance, then we can't afford to ignore it. Arya nodded in agreement. Very well, but we must proceed with caution. The Guardians are powerful, and if they see us as a threat, they will not hesitate to act. With their course set, Sam and Arya prepared for the journey to the Nexus. The descent into the deeper layers of Talora was fraught with danger, but they knew that time was running out. Every moment they delayed brought the planet closer to the brink of collapse. As they ventured deeper into the Earth, the air grew thicker with energy. The glow that had illuminated the tunnels before was now almost blinding, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Sam could feel the power of the planet pulsing all around him, growing stronger with each step they took. The tunnel eventually opened into a vast underground chamber, far larger than the one where the core resided. The air was thick with energy, and the ground beneath their feet seemed to hum with a low, vibrating frequency. In the center of the chamber, surrounded by a faintly glowing mist, was the Nexus. Sam stared in awe at the sight before him. The Nexus was a massive, crystalline structure, its surface shimmering with a spectrum of colors that shifted and changed like liquid light. Tendrils of energy reached out from the Nexus, connecting with the walls and ceiling of the chamber, forming a web of glowing lines that pulsed in rhythm with the planet's heartbeat. "This is incredible," Sam whispered, unable to tear his eyes away from the sight. "This is the source of all the energy on Talora." Arya nodded, her voice filled with reverence. "Yes, the Nexus is the heart of our world, the wellspring from which all life on Talora draws its strength. It is from here that the silent guardians were born, and it is here that the core draws its power." As they approached the Nexus, the air grew even thicker with energy. Sam could feel it vibrating through his entire body, a deep, resonant hum that seemed to penetrate his very soul. It was both exhilarating and overwhelming, as if he were standing at the edge of an immense power that he could barely comprehend. But as they drew closer, Sam's attention was suddenly drawn to movement in the shadows. He squinted, trying to make out what it was, and then he saw them, the silent guardians. They emerged from the darkness, their forms shifting and blending with the light. They were tall, ethereal beings, their bodies composed of the same crystalline material as the Nexus. Their faces were featureless, but their presence was unmistakably powerful. They moved with a fluid grace, their movements synchronized with the pulse of the Nexus. Sam felt a shiver run down his spine as the Guardians approached. Their presence was both awe-inspiring and terrifying, like being in the presence of gods. He glanced at Arya, who had gone still, her eyes locked on the approaching beings. "They're here," Sam whispered, his voice barely audible. Arya nodded, her expression tense. "Remember, Sam, we must not show fear. The Guardians respond to intent. If they sense that we are here to help, they may allow us to proceed." Sam took a deep breath, steadying his nerves. He could feel the Guardians' gaze on him, even though they had no eyes. It was as if they were examining him, judging his worthiness. One of the Guardians stepped forward, its crystalline form shimmering with a soft light. It extended a hand towards Sam, and he felt a sudden, intense pressure in his mind, as if the Guardian were reaching into his very thoughts. Sam stood his ground, focusing on the task at hand. He projected his intent, his desire to help, to save his planet and its people. He concentrated on the pattern he had felt within the core, the faint spark of hope that still remained. The pressure in his mind intensified, and for a moment, Sam thought he might collapse under the weight of it. But then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the pressure eased. The Guardian withdrew its hand, and Sam felt a sense of acceptance wash over him. "They've accepted us," Arya said softly, her voice filled with relief. "We can proceed." Sam nodded, still feeling the lingering effects of the Guardian's mental probe. He glanced at the Nexus, which seemed to pulse with renewed energy, as if it too had acknowledged their presence. With the Guardian's blessing, Sam and Arya approached the Nexus. The air around them crackled with energy, and the ground beneath their feet vibrated with the immense power contained within the crystalline structure. As they stood before the Nexus, Sam felt a deep connection to the planet, a bond that transcended words. He could feel the energy flowing through him, merging with his thoughts, his emotions. The pattern he had sensed within the core was now clearer, more defined. It was as if the Nexus had amplified his perception, allowing him to see the connections between the energies that sustained Talora. "We're close," Sam said, his voice filled with determination. "I can feel a pattern. We just need to find a way to align it with the Nexus." Arya placed a hand on his shoulder, her eyes filled with trust. "I believe in you, Sam. Together, we will find the way." With renewed resolve, they began their work. Sam focused his mind, channeling his thoughts through the Nexus, guiding the energy flows in an attempt to stabilize the pattern. The Nexus responded, its crystalline surface glowing brighter as it resonated with the core's energy. It was a delicate process, requiring precision and concentration. The slightest misalignment could disrupt the entire flow of energy, leading to catastrophic consequences. But Sam remained focused, his mind attuned to the rhythms of the planet, his thoughts synchronized with the pulse of the Nexus. Slowly, the pattern began to stabilize. The energy flows became more harmonious, their fluctuations smoothing out as they aligned with the Nexus. Sam could feel the core's energy growing stronger, its heartbeat more steady, more assured. Arya watched in awe as the Nexus began to glow with a radiant light, its colors shifting and blending in perfect harmony. The entire chamber was bathed in a soft, warm glow, and the air hummed with a sense of calm, of balance restored. "We've done it," Sam said, his voice filled with triumph. "The core is stabilizing. The planet is healing." Arya smiled, her eyes filled with gratitude. "You've saved Talora, Sam. You've given us a future." But even as they celebrated their success, Sam knew that their journey was not yet over. The planet's recovery would take time, and there were still many challenges ahead. But for now, They had taken the first crucial step towards saving this world, and Sam was determined to see it through to the end. As they prepared to leave the Nexus, the silent guardians watched in silence, their forms shimmering with a faint, ethereal light. Sam couldn't help but feel a sense of kinship with these ancient beings who had guarded the heart of Talora for millennia. They had allowed him to witness the power of the Nexus, to touch the very essence of the planet, and for that he was grateful. With the Nexus stabilized and the core's energy renewed, Sam and Arya began their journey back to the surface. The path ahead was still uncertain, but they knew that they had the strength and determination to face whatever challenges lay in their path. For the fate of Talora was now in their hands, and they would do whatever it took to ensure its survival. This part of the story introduces the Silent Guardians and the Nexus, deepening the mystery and expanding the lore of Talora. The relationship between Sam and Arya grows stronger as they work together to stabilize the planet's core. The story will continue to build on these elements, leading to further revelations and challenges in the next part. The Hidden Enemy. Sam and Arya's journey back to the surface of Talora was marked by a profound sense of accomplishment, but also a growing awareness of the challenges that still lay ahead. The Nexus had been stabilized, and the core's energy was beginning to flow more steadily, yet there remained a lingering sense of unease that neither of them could quite shake. As they ascended through the tunnels, the once overwhelming glow of the energy-infused rock walls gradually dimmed, replaced by the familiar cool tones of the surface. The closer they got to the world above, the more Sam's thoughts drifted back to Earth, to the life he had left behind. Yet, he felt an unbreakable bond with Talora now, a responsibility that weighed heavily on him. Arya noticed the change in Sam's demeanor. "You're thinking about home, aren't you?" she asked softly, her voice carrying a mix of empathy and understanding. Sam nodded, his thoughts still far away. "Yeah, I didn't expect to feel so connected to this place. It's strange. Earth is my home, but here, I feel like I'm part of something much bigger." Arya smiled gently. "You are, Sam. Talora has chosen you, just as much as you have chosen to help us. You have a role to play here, one that only you can fulfill, but I understand how you feel. The connection to one's home is strong, even when the heart finds a new purpose." Sam appreciated Arya's words, but the weight of their mission pressed down on him. The Nexus might have been stabilized, but there was no guarantee that the core would continue to recover. And there were still so many unanswered questions that gnawed at him as they made their way back to the surface. When they finally emerged from the depths, the alien sky greeted them with its pale light. The air was cool and crisp, a stark contrast to the heavy energy that had permeated the underground chambers. Sam took a deep breath, savoring the fresh air, while Arya gazed at the distant horizon, her eyes narrowed in thought. "We need to inform the elders of our success," Arya said after a moment. "They will want to know that the Nexus has been stabilized, but I can't shake the feeling that there's more to this, more than just the core weakening." Sam frowned, his earlier unease bubbling to the surface. "You think someone, or something, is behind this? That it's not just a natural phenomenon?" Arya nodded slowly. "The core doesn't just weaken on its own. It's been stable for millennia, guarded by the Silent Guardians and sustained by the Nexus. For it to suddenly begin failing now, it suggests an external influence, something that's disrupting the balance." The implications of Arya's words settled heavily between them. If there was an enemy, one capable of destabilizing the core of an entire planet, then their mission was far from over. They needed to identify the source of the disruption and stop it before it was too late. As they made their way back to the settlement, Sam's mind raced with possibilities. Who or what could be behind the core's destabilization? Was it an enemy from within Talora, or perhaps a force from beyond this world? The more he thought about it, the more he realized how little they truly knew about the situation. When they arrived at the settlement, they were greeted by a group of elders who had been anxiously awaiting their return. The news of their success at the Nexus was met with relief and gratitude, But as Sam and Arya shared their concerns about a possible hidden enemy, the atmosphere quickly turned somber. The idea that someone might be deliberately sabotaging the core is deeply troubling, one of the elders said, his voice heavy with concern. If this is true, then we must find the source of the disruption and eliminate it. Another elder, an older woman with piercing eyes, spoke up. There have been whispers among our people, rumors of strange occurrences in the northern regions, places where the energy flows have become erratic, where the land itself seems to be sickening. We dismiss them as mere coincidences, but now, perhaps there is more to them. Sam's pulse quickened at the elder's words. If there's a connection between these disturbances and the weakening core, then that's where we need to start looking. The elders exchanged glances, clearly troubled by the situation. The northern regions are dangerous, the first elder warned. They are far from the safety of our settlements, and the land is harsh and unforgiving. If you choose to go, you must be prepared for the worst. We have no choice, Arya said firmly. If there's even a chance that the disturbances are linked to the core's destabilization, then we have to investigate. Sam and I will go, and we'll take a small team with us. Sam nodded in agreement. We'll find out what's causing this, and we'll stop it. Talora is counting on us. With the elders' blessing, Sam and Arya began preparations for their journey to the northern regions. They gathered supplies, consulted with scouts who had knowledge of the area, and selected a team of skilled individuals who could help them navigate the treacherous terrain. The team consisted of a few of Talora's best fighters, a healer, and an energy specialist who could help them analyze any anomalies they encountered. As they set out on their journey, the landscape around them gradually changed. The lush, vibrant environment of the southern regions gave way to harsher, more desolate terrain. The once bright sky grew dimmer, and the air took on a colder, more biting quality. It was as if the land itself was reacting to the disturbances in the core, mirroring the planet's inner turmoil. The journey was grueling, the path ahead fraught with obstacles. They encountered treacherous cliffs, deep ravines, and areas where the ground was unstable and prone to sudden collapses. But Sam and Arya pressed on, determined to uncover the truth. As they ventured deeper into the northern regions, they began to notice signs of the disturbances the elders had mentioned. The energy flows in the area were chaotic, with patches of land that seemed to pulse with an unnatural sickly light. In some places, the ground was cracked and scorched, as if it had been seared by an intense heat. This isn't natural, Arya said as they examined one such area. Something or someone is deliberately causing these disturbances. It's like they're trying to disrupt the energy flows in this region. Sam crouched down, running his fingers over the scorched earth. But why? What would they have to gain from destabilizing the core? It doesn't make any sense. Unless they're trying to weaken the planet for some reason, Arya mused, her brow furrowed in thought. Perhaps they believe that if the core is weakened enough, it will make Talora more vulnerable to an attack or invasion. Sam's heart sank at the thought. If that were true, then the situation was even more dire than they had imagined. Whoever was behind this wasn't just trying to destabilize the core, they were preparing for something far worse. The team continued their search, pushing further into the northern regions. As they did, they began to notice a pattern in the disturbances. The chaotic energy flows seemed to converge on a specific area, a point of intense disruption that lay deep within the mountains. That's where we need to go, Arya said, pointing towards the mountains. Whatever's causing these disturbances is centered there. If we can reach it, we might be able to stop it. The journey to the mountains was the most difficult part of their expedition yet. The terrain was rugged and unforgiving, and the energy disturbances grew more intense the closer they got to their destination. But Sam and Arya refused to turn back. They knew that the fate of Talora depended on their success. Finally, after days of grueling travel, they reached the heart of the mountains. The area was a stark contrast to the rest of the northern regions. Where the land had been harsh and desolate, here it was almost devoid of life. The ground was cracked and barren, and the air was thick with a foul-smelling mist that stung their eyes and throats. In the center of the area, surrounded by a swirling vortex of dark energy, was a massive structure, an ancient, towering obelisk that pulsed with a sickly, malevolent light. The energy emanating from the obelisk was chaotic, destructive, and it was clear that this was the source of the disturbances that had been plaguing Talora. "What is that?" Sam asked, his voice filled with a mix of awe and horror. Arya's face was pale as she stared at the obelisk. "It's an energy siphon, a device designed to drain the planet's energy and redirect it elsewhere. Whoever built this is trying to drain Talora's life force, and if we don't stop it, they'll succeed." Sam felt a surge of anger and determination. They had come too far to fail now. "We need to destroy it," he said, his voice resolute. "Whatever it takes, we have to stop this thing from draining the planet's energy." Arya nodded, her eyes steely with resolve. "Agreed, but we'll need to be careful. The energy flows around the siphon are unstable. One wrong move, and we could cause a catastrophic chain reaction." With the team on high alert, they began to plan their approach. The energy specialist analyzed the flow patterns, searching for a weak point in the siphon's defenses. Meanwhile, the fighters scouted the area, looking for any signs of enemies who might be guarding shadows of the past. Returning to the settlement, Sam and Arya were greeted as heroes. The destruction of the energy siphon had a profound impact on the northern regions, bringing a sense of relief to the people of Talora. The energy flows were stabilizing, and the once barren landscape began to show signs of recovery. But despite the apparent victory, a shadow of unease lingered, hinting at unresolved issues. As Sam and Arya reported their findings to the elders, their discussion was interrupted by the arrival of a stranger. The newcomer, clad in a dark cloak that obscured their features, was accompanied by a small entourage. The stranger's presence caused a stir among the elders, who exchanged wary glances before addressing the visitor. "Who are you?" Arya asked, her voice tinged with suspicion. The stranger stepped forward, pulling back their hood to reveal a face marked by years of hardship. "I am Krell, a seeker of truth and justice. I have traveled from the distant lands beyond the southern borders, where rumors of Talora's plight have reached my ears." Sam and Arya exchanged curious glances. The arrival of Krell was unexpected, and the urgency in the stranger's voice suggested that their message was of great importance. The elders motioned for Krell to speak, and the settlement fell silent as the newcomer began to recount their story. "For years," Krell began, "I have been investigating a dark force that seeks to bring ruin to many worlds, not just Talora. This force operates in the shadows, manipulating events and sowing discord to achieve its ends. It is known by many names, but most refer to it simply as the Void." The mention of the Void sent a ripple of concern through the gathering. The elders exchanged uneasy glances, their faces betraying a deep-seated fear. Krell continued, his voice steady but filled with intensity. "The Void has agents across the galaxy, working to destabilize planets and create chaos. The siphon you destroyed was but one of many devices they used to weaken worlds and open them to invasion. Talora was not an isolated case." Sam's mind raced as he processed the implications of Krell's words. The Void was a threat on a galactic scale, a force of immense power and malevolence. If Talora was just one of many targets, then their victory over the siphon was only a small part of a much larger conflict. "What can we do?" Sam asked, his voice laced with determination. "How do we stop the Void from causing more destruction?" Krell's expression grew serious. "The Void is a shadowy network, operating through manipulation and deception. To combat it, we must uncover their plans and disrupt their operations. We need to gather intelligence, expose their agents, and thwart their schemes before they can do more harm." Arya stepped forward, her eyes resolute. "We've already seen evidence of their influence on Talora. If there are more devices or agents, we need to find them and stop them. But we can't do this alone." Krell nodded in agreement. "Indeed, I can provide you with information on known void agents and their methods. But to effectively combat them, we must work together and share our resources. The void thrives on division and secrecy. Our strength lies in our unity and our commitment to truth. The elders, recognizing the gravity of the situation, agreed to support Krell's mission. They offered their resources and knowledge, pledging to aid Sam and Arya in their fight against the void. With newfound allies and a clearer understanding of the threat they faced, Sam and Arya prepared for their next steps. Krell provided them with a list of suspected void agents operating within Talora and nearby worlds. The agents were rumored to be working behind the scenes, sowing discord and furthering the void's agenda. The list included individuals who had been seen in the northern regions and who had connections to the siphon's creation. As Sam and Arya studied the list, they realized that their mission had expanded far beyond the northern regions. They needed to investigate each lead, uncover the Void's network, and dismantle their operations. The task was daunting, but their resolve was unshaken. Their first lead took them to a remote settlement on the edge of Talora's southern deserts. The settlement was small and isolated, but it was rumored to be a hub for illicit activities and black market trade. Krell believed that an agent of the Void was operating there, using the settlement as a cover for their activities. The journey to the southern desert was arduous. The landscape was harsh and unforgiving, with scorching heat during the day and freezing temperatures at night. Sam and Arya, along with Krell and a small team of skilled allies, made their way through the desert, determined to uncover the truth. When they arrived at the settlement, they found it to be a place of stark contrasts. The settlement was a jumble of makeshift structures and dusty streets, but beneath the surface, there was an air of tension and secrecy. The inhabitants were wary of outsiders, and it was clear that the settlement was a place where information and resources were carefully guarded. Sam and Arya split up to gather intelligence. Sam focused on meeting with local traders and merchants, subtly probing for information about any unusual activities or visitors. Meanwhile, Arya and Krell approached the settlement's leaders, seeking to understand the power dynamics and uncover any connections to the Void. As Sam conversed with the traders, he began to notice a pattern. Many of the merchants spoke in hushed tones about a figure known only as the Broker, a mysterious individual who was rumored to be involved in various illegal activities and had a reputation for dealing in secrets. Arya and Krell's investigation led them to the settlement's leader, a man named Jarek, who was known for his ruthless control of the local economy. Jarek was an influential figure, and his connections to the black market made him a prime suspect in their search for Void agents. The team regrouped that evening, sharing their findings. "The Broker seems to be a key player in this settlement," Sam said. "They're involved in all sorts of shady dealings, and there are whispers about their connections to the Void." Arya nodded. "And Jarek is at the center of it all. He controls the flow of resources and information in this settlement, and he has the means to facilitate the Void's operations." Krell's eyes narrowed in thought. "We need to confront Jarek and find out what he knows. If he is indeed connected to the Void, he may have valuable information about their plans and other agents." The plan was set. That night, under the cover of darkness, Sam, Arya, and their team made their way to Jarek's estate. The estate was heavily guarded, but their knowledge of the settlement's layout and their skills in stealth allowed them to bypass the security measures. Inside the estate, they found themselves in a lavish but oppressive environment. The opulence of Jarek's surroundings was a stark contrast to the harsh conditions of the desert outside. The team moved quietly through the estate, searching for any clues that might reveal Jarek's connections to the Void. In Jarek's private study, they uncovered a series of documents and communication devices. The documents included detailed plans and reports on various illicit activities, including references to a large-scale operation aimed at destabilizing multiple planets. Among the documents was a list of contacts, including several names that matched those on Krell's list of suspected Void agents. Before they could fully examine the documents, however, they were interrupted by the sound of footsteps approaching. Sam and Arya quickly hid, their hearts racing as Jarek entered the study. Jarek's demeanor was calm and composed, but his expression betrayed a hint of concern as he reviewed the documents on his desk. "So, they've come looking for me," he muttered under his breath. "It seems I'll have to deal with this issue personally." Sam and Arya exchanged glances, realizing that they needed to act quickly. As Jarek prepared to leave the study, they emerged from their hiding place, confronting him with the evidence they had uncovered. Jarek's eyes widened in shock and anger as he saw the intruders. "You're too late," he snarled. "The Void's plans are already in motion. You think you can stop us?" Arya stepped forward, her voice firm. "We know about the Void's operations, Jarek. We have the evidence to expose you and your connections. But if you have any information that can help us stop them, now is the time to share it." Jarek's defiant expression faltered for a moment. "You don't understand," he said, his voice low and desperate. "The Void is not just a threat, it's an unstoppable force. We're all just pawns in their game." Before Sam and Arya could press in further, the sound of alarms blaring filled the estate. The security systems had been triggered, and it was clear that their intrusion had been discovered. "We need to get out of here," Sam said urgently. "Jarek, if you want to survive, you'd better start talking." With no other option, Jarek reluctantly provided them with information about a secret meeting planned by the Void. The meeting was set to take place at a hidden location in the northern mountains, where high-ranking agents would gather to discuss their next moves. Sam and Arya knew that this was their chance to uncover more about the Void's plans and potentially expose their leadership. With Jarek's information in hand, they'd prepared to head back to the northern mountains, determined to confront the Void and put an end to their schemes. As they left the settlement, Sam felt a renewed sense of purpose. The fight against the Void was far from over, and the challenges ahead would be immense. But with each step they took, they were one step closer to uncovering the truth and safeguarding the future of Talora and beyond. In this part, Sam and Arya confront Jarek, uncovering critical information about the Void and their plans. The story continues to build tension as the team prepares for a crucial meeting that could reveal more about the Void's operations and potentially lead to a significant breakthrough in their fight against this shadowy threat. The Hidden Summit. With the information provided by Jarek, Sam, Arya, and their team set out for the northern mountains. The journey was treacherous, with steep cliffs and narrow paths making their progress slow and difficult. The harsh terrain mirrored the gravity of their mission, to intercept the Void's high-ranking agents and uncover their plans. As they climbed higher into the mountains, the weather grew colder and the air thinner. Sam led the way, navigating through the rugged landscape while Arya and Krell kept watch for any signs of danger. Their path was illuminated only by the light of their portable lamps, casting eerie shadows on the surrounding rock faces. After hours of climbing, they reached a plateau where Krell indicated the location of the hidden summit. The area was surrounded by natural rock formations, creating a concealed space that was ideal for secret gatherings. The team approached cautiously, aware that they were likely being watched. The summit itself was a large cavern, partially hidden by a rocky overhang. Inside, they found a makeshift meeting area, with several high-ranking Void agents already present. The agents were engaged in hushed conversations, their voices echoing off the cavern walls. Sam and Arya positioned themselves in a shadowed alcove, listening intently to the discussion. One of the agents, a tall figure with a commanding presence, stood at the center of the meeting. This individual was known among Void operatives as the Shadow Master, a key leader who orchestrated many of the Void's schemes. The Shadow Master spoke with authority, detailing their plans to destabilize more worlds and extend the Void's reach. "Our recent successes have demonstrated the effectiveness of our strategies," the Shadow Master declared. "The energy siphons have weakened the planetary defenses, and our operatives are in position to exploit the chaos. We will soon launch a series of coordinated attacks to further our agenda." The agents murmured in agreement, their expressions showing a mix of anticipation and eagerness. Sam and Arya exchanged worried glances. The Void's plans were more extensive than they had initially feared, with multiple worlds targeted for simultaneous destabilization. Krell leaned closer, whispering to Sam and Arya. The Void's operations are far-reaching. They're not just disrupting energy flows, they're preparing for large-scale invasions. If we don't act swiftly, entire planets could fall into their control. Sam nodded, his resolve hardening. We need to gather as much information as we can and find a way to disrupt their plans. We have to expose their strategy and rally more allies to our cause. As the meeting continued, the Shadow Master outlined a plan to activate several new siphons across different regions. The siphons were designed to create more instability and open the way for Void forces to seize control. The agents were assigned specific targets, with clear instructions on how to proceed. The conversation took a darker turn when the Shadow Master mentioned a new, experimental siphon that was nearing completion. This siphon was intended to be far more powerful than the previous ones, capable of causing widespread devastation. It was to be tested in a remote, heavily guarded facility. Sam's heart raced as he realized the significance of this new siphon. If activated, it could have catastrophic consequences for the planets it targeted. The team needed to act quickly to prevent its deployment and gather evidence to expose the Void's plans. As the meeting concluded, the Void agents began to disperse, heading to their respective assignments. Sam, Arya, and Krell used the opportunity to gather as much information as possible. They took detailed notes on the siphon's location, the names of key agents, and the planned timeline for the attacks. When the cavern was finally empty, the team emerged from their hiding place and began their descent. The information they had gathered was invaluable, but they needed to relay it to their allies and prepare for the next phase of their mission. Back at their base camp, Sam and Arya reviewed the notes and formulated a plan. They would need to infiltrate the facility where the experimental siphon was being tested and sabotage it before it could be activated. Additionally, they would work to rally support from other planets and factions threatened by the Void's schemes. Krell offered to assist with the infiltration, using his knowledge of Void operations and security systems. The team made preparations for their next mission, ensuring they had the necessary equipment and resources. As they prepared to depart, Sam couldn't shake the feeling of urgency. The Void's plans were advancing rapidly, and time was running out. The stakes were higher than ever, and their success depended on their ability to act decisively and outmaneuver their enemies. The journey to the siphon facility was fraught with danger. The facility was located in a remote area, heavily fortified and surrounded by armed guards. Sam, Arya, and their team approached the facility under the cover of night, using stealth and tactical skills to avoid detection. The infiltration was complex, requiring precise timing and coordination. They navigated through security checkpoints and bypassed electronic defenses, slowly making their way toward the core of the facility. Their goal was to locate the experimental siphon and disable it before it could be activated. Inside the facility, they discovered that the siphon was nearly operational, with final tests scheduled for the following day. The complex machinery was intricate and heavily guarded, requiring careful planning to disable. As they worked to sabotage the siphon, they encountered unexpected resistance from Void operatives who had been alerted to their presence. A fierce battle ensued, with Sam, Arya, and their team fighting to protect their mission and prevent the Void from achieving their goals. Despite the challenges, they managed to successfully disrupt the siphon's activation sequence. The facility's alarms blared as the machinery was rendered inoperable, and the Void operatives were forced to retreat. With the experimental siphon disabled, Sam and Arya's team made their escape, regrouping and preparing for their next move. The mission had been a success, but the fight against the Void was far from over. They still needed to address the broader threat and continue their efforts to expose the Void's plans and rally support. As they returned to their base camp, Sam and Arya reflected on the progress they had made. They had uncovered crucial information and dealt a significant blow to the Void's operations. The war against this shadowy force was ongoing. Their determination and resolve were stronger than ever, and they were prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In this part, Sam, Arya, and their team infiltrate a high-security facility to sabotage an experimental siphon being prepared by the Void. The operation is fraught with danger and resistance, but they successfully disable the siphon, dealing a significant blow to the Void's plans. The final confrontation. The disabled siphon was a significant victory, but Sam, Arya, and their team knew it was only a partial success in the ongoing struggle against the Void. The Void's influence still loomed large, and their plans for interplanetary destabilization remained a severe threat. The team regrouped, reviewed their intel, and prepared for the next critical step, confronting the Void's central command. Back at their base, Sam and Arya analyzed the information they had gathered. They identified key locations and strategies for their next operation, aiming to strike at the heart of the Void's power. The intercepted communication revealed that the Void's central command was located on a heavily fortified space station orbiting a distant, uncharted planet. Their plan was to infiltrate the space station, gather evidence of the Void's activities, and dismantle their operations from within. The mission would require precise coordination, advanced technology, and the element of surprise. The team made final preparations, ensuring they were equipped with the latest tech and weaponry. As they approached the space station, they marveled at its sheer size and complexity. The station was an imposing structure, bristling with defensive systems and guarded by Void patrols. Their ship, cloaked and approaching stealthily, docked in a concealed port. The team split into two groups. Sam and Arya would handle the primary infiltration, focusing on accessing the command center and retrieving crucial data. Krell and a few specialists would create diversions and handle security breaches to ensure the mission's success. With their plan in place, Sam and Arya donned their stealth suits and activated their cloaking devices. They moved silently through the dark corridors of the space station, bypassing security measures and avoiding detection. Their path was fraught with dangers, from patrolling guards to sophisticated surveillance systems. As they reached the command center, they encountered a heavily fortified door protected by advanced security protocols. Sam used his hacking skills to bypass the security, while Arya monitored the surroundings for any signs of interference. The door slid open, revealing the heart of the Void's operations. His story continues to build suspense and sets the stage for the next phase of their mission. Inside, the command center was a hive of activity, with Void operatives busy at work. Sam and Arya navigated through the room, evading detection and locating the central data core. They quickly accessed the core and began downloading sensitive information about the Void's plans and operations. Just as they were about to complete their data extraction, alarms blared throughout the station. The Void had detected their presence, and the station's defenses were activated. Sam and Arya had to act quickly to secure their exit. Krell and the diversion team engaged the Void's security forces, creating chaos and drawing attention away from Sam and Arya. The battle raged on as Sam and Arya fought their way back to the docking port, their mission hanging in the balance. The space station's corridors were now a battlefield, with explosions and gunfire echoing through the halls. Sam and Arya faced numerous obstacles, including Void reinforcements and automated defense systems. Their escape was a tense and high-stakes endeavor, requiring every ounce of their skill and determination. Eventually, they reached the docking port, where Krell and the diversion team were waiting. The team quickly boarded their ship, navigating through the chaos of the space station's emergency procedures. The ship launched from the station, narrowly escaping the Void's counterattacks. As they departed, Sam and Arya reflected on the mission's success. They had obtained critical information about the Void's operations and managed to cripple their central command. The Void's plans had been significantly disrupted, but the fight was far from over. Back on their home planet, the team analyzed the data they had gathered. They discovered detailed plans for future attacks and a list of key Void operatives. The information would be invaluable in rallying support and preparing for the next phase of their struggle against the Void. Sam and Arya prepared to share their findings with their allies, knowing that the battle was far from finished. The Void's threat remained a serious danger, and their efforts would continue to be crucial in the fight for peace and stability. As the team prepared for their next move, they were filled with a renewed sense of purpose. Their journey had been fraught with challenges and dangers, but their resolve had never wavered. They were ready to face whatever lay ahead, determined to protect their world and others from the shadowy threat of the Void. In this final part, Sam and Arya infiltrate the Void's central command space station, gather crucial data, and escape amidst intense conflict. The story concludes with a significant blow to the Void's operations and sets the stage for future battles against this formidable adversary.